Hello everyone, this is just going to be a discussion of the 9.7 update here. I'm just going to talk about that really quick while I've got this up. There's not a whole lot that I want to talk about here. Mostly the glyphs. The new Jotuns, I want to talk about. Every time you damage an enemy god with an ability, you gain a stack of wit. At 2 stacks, your next non-ultimate ability that damages an enemy god gets 25% of its cooldown instantly refunded. This sounds cool, and there are going to be situations that I can see this being fairly significant for ability-based warriors very specifically. For example, I could see this being really impactful on, say, Odin getting your Raven Shout 25% refunded in terms of cooldown is incredibly powerful and is going to make Odin very, very much more difficult to take out as a result, because he's going to have that Raven Shout going up a lot more often, especially since I suspect, and this is something I'm going to have to test. Actually, let me test this now. I can absolutely test this now, and I want to. Let's make this episode not limited. Let's make this episode really interesting. Let's go into jungle practice with Odin. I want to see if a bird bomb will instantly give you 2 stacks of wit. Where is Odin? There he is. I want to see if this works. Because if this does work the way I'm thinking it does, this could make Odin very difficult to eliminate in the solo lane. And I would like to see if that's true. I think it's a really significant question. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and boost ourselves up to level 20 here. Increase that. And we are going to grab... Hello! That's interesting. We're going to purchase that. And then... we're going to grab Jotun's Cunning. It does. Okay. Yep, he gets full stacks of wit. Now, interestingly enough... Okay, I want to test something else really quick. We might as well just increase these while we're here. Alright, so what we're going to do is trigger this. There we go, we've got a stack of wit right there. And, yeah, it's Raven Shout that gets priority. Very nice. Oh, and then I can trigger this here. And then we do this. And then we get the full stacks. And then Leap does extra. Gets an extra cooldown back. And then we can go on ahead and pull this out here. And then this. And then, yeah. Okay, Odin's gonna get so broken. That is hugely impactful for Odin. Alright. So I can definitely see combo-oriented ability-based characters really making off like a bandit with this. I'm not talking Ravon. His abilities work on a very individual basis. We're talking about Hercules with his 2-hit combo. We're talking about Odin here. We're talking about Lancelot. We're talking about... No, King Arthur is pretty individual too. I mean, King Arthur would absolutely slap with this, don't get me wrong. But, yeah, I can see this becoming very, very useful for a very select few warriors and assassins. Alright, what else do we have here? They changed the Rod of Tahuti. They removed the attack speed one. I'm assuming they're going to put that on a ring. The perfected Rod of Tahuti, successfully damaging an enemy god with an ability, applies a mark for 3 seconds. Damaging them a second time with another ability consumes the mark and provides 10% move speed, and reduces your non-ultimate abilities by 1.5 seconds. Only 1 mark can be active at a time, and it cannot be applied for 10 seconds after consuming a mark. That's just plain old generally useful. There's going to be some mages who are going to make that really disgusting, namely Janus, who already can boost his move speed, and that's going to be even uglier. Poseidon, same thing. Soul, Ra. Basically, any mage that already can boost their movement speed is going to be a nightmare to catch up to with the Perfected Rod. I can see that being concerning, to some extent. Bancroft's Talon. For every 40 magic power you have, you gain 2% attack speed. Amen to this. One of my go-to items for attack speed mages is Bancroft's Talon, because it works really well with the Ring of Hecate, and it works really well with Typhon's Fang. That combination gives you a lot of good power and some good attack speed. So having the nimble Bancroft's Talon is really nice, because that's something I would actually use fairly often. And then we have Bancroft's Claw. You gain every 15 seconds, gain a stack of hunger. Abilities cast within 30 units of enemy gods consume a stack, dealing bonus damage equal to 5% of their max HP for every... Oh my goodness, really? Equal to 0.5% of their max HP for each 75 magic power you have. Each god damaged by hunger provides you with a shield of 1% of your max HP. I don't think Bancroft's Claw is going to get as much use as people probably think it would on paper. There are better relics, there are better glyphs to be using here. Bancroft's Claw, not a whole lot of mages are going to get an increase in their shield. They're going to have to go out of their way for Warlock's Staff, which is fine, except Warlock's Staff takes an absolute age to stack, and if you fail to stack that in time, you're going to fall behind. Like, if you die 2 or 3 times in the early game when you're trying to stack the Warlock Staff, you're going to be in a bad way in the mid to late game. So that's going to be a very... I can see Bancroft's Claw with very risky strategies being very effective, but it is going to be a risk, and I don't think a lot of people are going to be comfortable taking that risk. We've already talked about the Executioner in the previous episode. We have Magi's Cloak, which is interesting. Whenever your passive is consumed, the nearest allied god within 25 units gains protections from a single hard crowd control effect. Okay, so this is going to be... That's more in line with... that's for supports. That's to build Magi's Cloak on supports, so that way you can have your own CC immunity, and you can also spread that to allies. I can see certain supports really using this, namely Khepri, for instance. Khepri will really be able to use this because it will help prevent Abduct from being interrupted. I can see Cerberus use this sometimes, maybe, against some more silence-heavy enemy team comps. I could absolutely see that. Supports that really have sustained abilities. Khepri is probably the one that would use it the most. But I can think of a couple of other scenarios. Again, Cerberus is one right off the top of my head that I can think of as well. Magi's Revenge. The first enemy god to hit you with a hard crowd control effect while you're protected becomes marked for revenge. Gods marked for revenge. Cause enemy gods... Okay, so Magi's Revenge just marks whoever hits you with hard CC to get your allies to move 20% faster towards them and take 10% increased damage. There are going to be some situations, there are going to be some team comps that are going to really take advantage of this. If you're a support and you have Magi's Cloak, and you have, say, Thanatos on your team, or a Wheelish Lancelot, you know, assassins like that, it's mostly going to be an assassin thing, I think. That's really going to take advantage of that. That's kind of interesting. I can definitely see Magi's Shelter getting some use. Magi's Revenge a little bit less. We have new masks. Oh, the masks just basically scale. And, oh, they're starter items now. Alright, Protector's Mask. Did they... No, because I still was able to buy starter items just fine normally. Alright. So, the Protector's Mask is basically... How does that compare to this? 8 gold, 12 health, 8 mana. 15 health, 15 mana. Protector's Mask is more effective than Sentinel's Gift? Interesting. Oh, but it doesn't give you the default protections, that's why. Okay, so it's a bit of an interesting try, but that's fine. Alright, Lano's Mask is going to be broken. I can see that right now. Listen to this, okay? This is for the idea of taking a non-Guardian and bringing them into the support role. Lano's Mask. I'm not sure if you have read this. Passive, mind you, before I get into the passive, Lano's Mask is only purchasable by mages, assassins, and hunters, obviously. Gives you 300 health, 200 mana, 10% crowd control reduction. Great. Passive. Gain 5 stacks of cowardice. For each stack of cowardice reduces your damage dealt and healing by 10%. For every 60 protections you gain from items, remove a stack of cowardice. When you remove a stack of cowardice, gain a stack of bravery. Each stack of bravery gives you 3% damage mitigation and provides 7 magic and physical protections to all allied gods within 55 units. Now, this is fairly... I don't mind this. I think it's a little bit strong. I think the 3% damage mitigation is a bit too high since it's also already providing some protections. I think this should probably be bopped down to 2% per. You have 5 stacks of this, so you would get 15% damage mitigation at a combined total of 300 protections, which, think about it, that sounds like it's really a lot, but we're talking about a combined 300 protections. You would need 150 of each protection from items. You get 60 of each protection from Mantle of Discord, so that's already right then and there 2 stacks of cowardice converted to 2 stacks of bravery. You get Breastplate of Valor, that's 3 stacks. You get Genji's Guard, that's 4 stacks. And you've only used 4, you've got the Mask, you've got Mantle of Discord, you have Breastplate of Valor, and you've got Genji's Guard. That's 4 items out of your 6. Alright, you can build any 1/5 item as long as it gives you either 60 total. For example, say you built Caduceus Shield, that's 60 total. That would work. Or you could go into... that they reduce the protections on that, that's fine. You could go into, heck, Pridwin, same thing, right? I can see this being a little too strong. Fighter's Mask, we can actually look at that right here. So let's do so really quick. So item grants 2 MP5 per 10% of your missing mana. Your abilities do 10 bonus ability true damage to minions. This is something that warriors can build? Are they nuts? Oh, can you imagine this on Odin with a bird bomb? 6% increased damage with a bird bomb plus 0.25% of your god's level? And then let's look at this. Gain 5 stacks of weakness. Yes, each stack reduces your damage taken by 10%. For each 65 physical power, remove a stack. See, this is a bit harder to pull. For each stack of strength, gain 3% damage dealt and 2% movement speed. Odin is going to absolutely dominate with this thing if you play safe enough in the beginning. Alright, let's look at this. How much effort does it actually take to bring us... And keep in mind that this already gives you 60 physical power by itself. So it's already, by default, almost removing... It's by itself almost converting a stack. So you can see the red mask is 1 stack of bravery and the 4 is the weaknesses. Right? Let's say I built Transcendence. Right? And then I stacked this. Item stacks. Good, we can build the full item stacks there. Alright, look at that. Okay, that doesn't count? Really? Okay, that's pretty smart then. 3% of your mana is converted to physical power. That conversion doesn't count. Alright. That's completely fine. Yeah, see, observe. I want you to pay very close attention. I have 2 red stacks, 2 stacks of bravery, 3 stacks of weakness. 0 change, despite the fact that my power changed very drastically. So, okay, that's good. That prevents that from breaking. Heartseeker by itself is a full stack. That's 65 physical power, no problem. Now, let's go with Soul Eater and grab some stacks on that, because those are actually, that at full stacks just gets increased power compared to the 25 physical power it gave you before. Right? I think. Am I wrong here? I'm not sure if that's really working as intended. No, it doesn't. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Let's grab Brawler's Beatstick. And Titan's Bane for kicks. There we go. And then what we're going to do... Alright, it's a little bit harder to stack this than I thought it was going to. Yeah, 700 damage isn't bad, although I'm going full power, so... Let's talk Gold Fury really quick. Oh, holy cow, what level is this thing? What level was that Gold Fury? That seemed... Either I'm way stronger than I expected. Zoinks. I have a sneaking suspicion. Oh, yeah. Let's go for a 20-minute Fire Giant, right? 21, that's fine. Alright, I can't quite solo the Fire Giant, which is good. I was going to be really concerned if that was going to happen. But, alright. What else do we have here? We have the new item tree, which is... the earrings, which we can look at because they're apparently almost universal. Sphinx's Bauble. Your cooldown reduction cap is increased. Okay, I see. Cooldown reduction cap is increased from 40 to 60%. Your damage and healing output is decreased by 20%. Okay, that's an interesting trade-off. I can see where that would be useful for some very specific characters. I could see Agni really slapping with this. Gonna be really honest. That would probably be fairly disgusting. I could see certain Guardians really dominating with this. This is something I would absolutely 100% build on a Guardian just to get that cooldown. Because I'm already not going to be doing that much damage and healing in the first place. Can Guardians build that? Please tell me they can't. Yeah. Yeah, they can. More expensive than... Yeah, it's more expensive because, yeah, Guardians... the downside does not impact Guardians enough to keep them from prioritizing this item. Between the high cost and the stat spread, we think that is enough of a trade-off for support Guardians to make no. I'm getting 30 MP5. I'm able to increase my CDR from 40 to 60%. I get 10% right there. Sure, I'm getting 80 useless magic power that I don't care about. But most Guardians are going to absolutely murder for this item. It's fantastic. This is huge. It really is. Then we have this thing. Manticore's Spike. When you hit an enemy god with hard crowd control, they drop a spike on the ground that lasts for 7 seconds. When you or an allied god pick up a spike, they gain a buff that causes their next ability to deal bonus damage equal to 3% of their own max HP. Wow. This effect lasts 5 seconds and is doubled if you are the one who picks up the spike. Okay, this is... Oh, this is either going to be for aggressive Guardians, Cerberus, Jormungandr, Xingtian, or for tankier supports. Kukulane will dominate with this, for reference. Feyblessed Hoops. Each time an allied god dies within 70 units of you, or you heal an allied god with an ability of flower drops from your ally, it can be picked up by you or an ally. Picking up the flower gives that god a shield equal to 7.5% of their max HP that lasts for 8 seconds. Chang'an, Aphrodite are going to murder for this. Sylvanas is just going to absolutely curb stomp people with this. This is gross. I mean, Sylvanas is already picking things up off the floor anyways. What the heck? Oh my goodness. A support Aphrodite is going to absolutely love this thing. Zoinks. And what is this last one that I can't grab because I'm a warrior? Griffin Wing Earrings. 40 physical power, 60 magic power, 25% attack speed, 15 MP5. Basic attack projectile speed increased by 40%. I don't think that's locked to hunters and mages only. Yeah, I can't really see me liking the increased projectile speed. That's going to throw my aiming for a loop because I'm so used to the projectile speed as it is, after years of playing this game, that increasing the projectile speed for me is going to really throw me for a loop in terms of my accuracy. This is going to hurt old-time players like myself who are really used to the current projectile speed, but newer players are probably going to have a field day with this item, which is actually a cool thing to say. And I think, and this is one of the reasons why I started doing these guides, is I've been expecting something like this for a while, an item that newer players are going to really understand. By the way, the Griffin Wing earrings also reduce basic attack damage by 15%, just so you know. But it's items like this that I want to make sure that if anything happens to me, this is going to sound really grim. If anything happens to me, there's someone left behind that can surpass me. I have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge with this game. I've been playing this game for years. I have a lot of knowledge built up. But I understand that at some point, because of how early I got into the game, I will never be the best. There is always going to be someone who will come after me who will be better. I'm just hoping that I can, heaven forbid something happen to me, I've at least gotten all of these guides out. So that way somebody can come in here, absorb my knowledge, add their own knowledge, and carry on the torch of helping people understand this game better. Because the Griffin Wing earrings are a prime example. Basic attack, projectile speed increased by 40%. I would never be able to make that work because I'm too used to the attack speed, the projectile speed as it is and has been for years. But a newer player could take that item and perform really well with it where I couldn't. And that's very exciting to me that it's happening. That I now can sit here and say, look, here's all my knowledge. Next generation of Smite players, be better than us. Alright? I remember way back, some of you will remember this and some of you won't. This is going to get kind of nostalgic and sappy here. But I remember the old days, like the first pro tournaments, where there were way fewer items. I remember when Smite was in beta, and in my opinion, that was a golden age of Smite pros. I think the game itself is doing better now, but I think, no offense to the current pros, but way back, in the early days of Smite, it came much more down to skill than items. We have so many items now that people like me with the knowledge base are performing a little bit better than pure skill base. That's not to say that skill isn't involved here, obviously it still is. But, way back in the day, when there were way fewer items, it was your skill that decided much more upon whether or not you prevailed. So I think the old Smite pros who have all since retired, I think they're just better players, but the newer players surpass them because of the knowledge it takes, because of things like the Griffin Wing earrings that newer players will be able to understand, adapt, and use better than old hands like me. Old hands like the old pros. And that's really exciting. That's really beautiful. I think that if they continue to release items like this, we're going to see an entirely new generation of Smite players. And hopefully they're less toxic. Hopefully they're more optimistic. Hopefully they maintain a love for the game that I think my generation of Smite players to some extent is lost. I haven't, but I've seen other Smite players kind of fall off. And it's a shame, because it really is a fantastic MOBA. And items like this excite me because this means that there's a reward for being new. You're not just left behind in the dust anymore just because you're new to the game. And if you are watching this and you're new to Smite and you feel like I'll never be as good as the old pros, the people who've been here for years, you will be better. I guarantee it. You listening to this, if you're new to Smite and you're listening to this, you will surpass me. You will surpass me in knowledge of this game. You will surpass me in skill in this game. You will surpass the current pros and the old pros in both of these categories. Give yourself time and don't give up on yourself. Because you are the future of this game and you will be better than anyone else who's come before. Okay? Back to the items after that deeply soulful conversation. What else? There's just some minor changes to anti-heal, which is good. I think those were a little bit extended. They just decreased the amount of time anti-heal lasts. It's now 5 seconds, which I think is better. Boomba's hammer got a change, which is really good because I hated it. I think it was way overrated. 10% cooldown reduction. Did they nerf it? Draining a basic attack. Yes, they nerfed it, which is weird because it's, in my opinion, it was overhyped in the first place, but that's just my opinion. Amulet of the Stronghold got a higher conversion rate, that's fine. Amulet of Silence's internal cooldown was reduced by 15 seconds, which is fine. I noticed that Sentinel's gift can now be upgraded level... the support starters can be upgraded level 15. I did notice this in the previous episode, I just didn't mention it, because I wanted to talk about it here. Higher gold from Sentinel's gift and Embrace, that's fine. Sentinel's and Embrace has GP 5 now, which is fine. Relic Dagger got buffed back to where it was before. Tyrannical Plate Helm buffs minions more. I kind of have mixed feelings about Tyrannical Plate Helm. Mail of Renewal has more protections, which is good because the protections it offered before made it trash. With 30 protections, okay, I want you to understand. Mail of Renewal used to give 20 of each protection, right? It used to give 20 physical, 20 magical. That was horrifically low. Why? Because I could build Caduceus Shield. I could build Pridwin and get more value. I mean, the passive is way too slow. Look, this effect can only occur once every 60 seconds. That passive was too slow to give Mail Renewal any kind of edge. With 30 physical and 30 magic protections, this actually has become viable to build to some extent. I still probably won't build this very often because that passive is slow as hell. I'll probably build Stone of Gaia over that, which, you know, is good, but, yeah. They buffed Shield of Regrowth? Why? After healing yourself from an ability, you gain 30% movement speed, 15 physical power, and 30 magic power for 4 seconds. Okay. I don't see that as being really significant. I'm going to be really honest. I don't care. And I don't think a lot of other people are going to either. I would have rather have seen a little more cooldown, maybe more health, maybe more HP and MP5, maybe some protections out of this. The adding of power, I don't care. I really don't. Staff of Mirrodin has a new passive, which I'll have to read because it's magic. When your ultimate ability is finished casting, you gain Mirrodin's Rage, which provides 25% increased damage dealt, decaying to 2.5% increased damage dealt over 8 seconds. At the end of the 8 seconds you lose Mirrodin's Rage. This can only occur once every 45 seconds. Alright, I can definitely see, again, very specific mages really getting a lot out of this. Iset, for instance, could really slap with this. She slaps down her ult. She triggers the passive from Staff of Mirrodin. She uses the stun ball, and then she busts out Wing Gusts. As an example. I could see that being useful to some people. Special Plate Helm has a crit damage reduction. That's actually nice. I do appreciate that. I think that makes it more unique. I do like that. That actually makes it viable. This... Do we have this? Can you... No, you can't. Alright, fine. Celestial Legion Helm used to have diminishing protections where if you were out of combat for, like, I think it was 5 seconds, maybe it's 10 now, I can't quite remember, you would gain a stack that would give you, like, 10 or so physical protections, eventually stacking up to 50. So Celestial Legion Helm would have, before you got into a team fight, you'd start with 80 physical protections out of that or something like that, and then every time you got hit, the next 5 hits you got would take away 10 protections and you were back down to the base 30. On the surface, it sounded nice, but in practice, it was really impractical. But the crit damage reduction actually makes this situationally viable. If the enemy team is building a lot of crits, you're actually going to want that. So that's going to be really nice. We have some buffs to some of the relics. Nothing really big here. Bracer of Illumination got an increased buff duration. Drowned Ankh got an increased miasma damage. Cloak of the Avatar got increased knockback strength. Chaotic Beads got its missile nerfed slightly. Trembling Terror got a huge buff. It trembles earlier, but I still don't care. I still rather have the other one. Look, let me put it this way. All right, gonna grab Horrific Emblem. Now this is the one. I'm sorry, Trembling Terror. This one got a buff. If an enemy is dealt 15% of their max HP during this duration, they are trembled for 1.5 seconds. This used to be 30% of their max HP. I still don't care. Alright? Because it still only lasts 5 seconds. Increasing Peril, though, you do 10% of their you do 10% of their health. That is a huge debuff on them. I just think Emblem of Increasing Peril is more useful, generally speaking. Diminishing Returns will now be a visible stack. I saw that last episode. I didn't know what it was. Next stacks of Diminishing Returns. Diminishing Returns can no longer be applied to yourself or allies. CCR per stack decreased from 40 to 60, but that's because they doubled the amount of stacks. Okay. Fix many code-driven displacement abilities that previously did not. Okay. Hard CC is now defined as any crowd control that makes it impossible to do at least one of the following actions: basic attacks, non-movement abilities, and movement inputs. Alright, so what I was calling hard CC for my entire career, literally, they just actually made that true. What I had always defined as hard CC, and I was mistaken on this, apparently, but what I had always considered hard CC, hard crowd control, was anything that prevented you from performing any action. The only crowd control I was wrong about this on were roots. I always thought roots were a hard crowd control because they prevented you from moving, just like disarms were hard crowd control because they prevented you from attacking. Apparently they weren't. They were apparently soft CC. Now they are hard CC, so they just basically changed the definition of hard CC to what I've been calling it the whole time, so I guess self-fulfilling prophecy there? That beats me. True hard CC is a new subclassification of hard CCs, defined as hard CCs that are not affected by diminishing returns. Alright, so these are the extra good crowd controls. As such, true hard CCs apply 2 stacks of diminishing returns. This is banishes, grabs, knockbacks, knockups, polymorphs, and pulls. Alright, so this is what these are, with the exception of polymorph, these are what I've always been calling the move CCs. Grab, knockback, knockup, pull. They all move the enemy target in some way. Banishes, we're talking Janos' Portal, which I considered a move CC in the first place. Polymorphs surprises me a little bit, but I can understand why that wouldn't be subject to diminishing returns. The move ones as well, the move CCs, I can understand why they wouldn't be subject to diminishing returns. You're actually physically moving the target. Diminishing that would make a lot of abilities broken in terms of mechanics, in terms of coding. So I can understand that. Soft CCs are now defined as any crowd control that makes it more difficult to do a specific action, including basic attacks. Intoxicate and Tremble are now soft CCs. Again, I considered Intoxicate and Tremble soft CCs beforehand. Apparently they were hard CC for some reason. Yeah, they've literally just redefined crowd control to basically what I've been calling them the whole time. That's fine. Yeah, that just makes the way I've set them up in my head more true. Actually, exactly true. So that's nice to see. But it's also interesting that I was slightly off on 3 very specific crowd control. I'd considered Roots a hard CC. They were not until now. I'd considered Intoxicate and Tremble to be soft CC. They were not until now. They were apparently hard CC for some reason. Figure that one out, but okay. Unknown issues with the crowd control reduction. Karanos' Wild Hunt only applies one stack of DR instead of two. Polymorph is now only applying one. Okay, it's the polymorphs. Wild Hunt also polymorphs. They buffed out Kwang's passive. That doesn't really make a huge difference. A mild power boost. Cerberus, anything really significant. Mild increase in his passive. Mild increase in his damage for paralyzing the spits. Cupid gets mild increased damage from his heart bomb on minions. Slightly higher heal on his hearts. Nothing really significant. Is there anything actually significant going on here in buffs? Discordia's escape is 1 second shorter cooldown, but that's about it. Slightly higher cooldown on Argus. Amen to that. Driving Strike has a 1 second lower... Actually, both Driving Strike and Earthbreaker have 1 second less cooldown, which I think is going to be interesting to see if that's too broken or not. When bots get CC immunity when using Overhead Smash, that's fine. Well, knock up and knock back immune, at least. Move CC immune, basically. Rend has gone back to the scaling cooldown reduction. That's interesting. Is there anything of particular notes? The next three gods have spicy changes. Ares. Shackles now deals 40% extra damage to jungle monsters. You're going to start seeing some jungling Ares, and it's not going to work well. I'm telling you that much right now. Same thing with Danzabaru. The Morrigan. The Morrigan's buff to jungle monsters is actually significant. See, okay, look. 3 gods got a buff to their damage against jungle camps. Ares' Chains now does 40% more damage to these. Danzabaru's Saki does 40% extra damage to jungle monsters. And the Morrigan's Triangle Shot, Deadly Aspects apparently it's called, that does 30% extra damage. The only significant one here is the Morrigan, because she actually can play jungle effectively. The other two really doesn't matter. You're still not really going to want to use the Ares Chain one time just to hit a jungle camp. Danzabaru's Saki I can see being used at the very least against jungle camps for some damage, but it's not necessarily going to be like your mainstay strategy. It's not going to be enough to make him... Well, actually, Danzabaru can do some pretty decent jungling, actually, thinking about it. I'll take that back, never mind. Chang'e just got some base stat increases. Oh, this is actually huge. Thor's Hammer Throw now does full damage to minions on the return swing. This is huge. Alright, because before, when he threw his hammer, only the initial throw would do full damage to minions. On its return, it would only do half damage. This made him not great in lane, but now that it does 100% on the return, you're actually going to see him be used in lane effectively. They mentioned solo lane, which is probably where we're going to see Thor, but it's actually a significant change. I like that. It's about stinking time. As long as we got protection buffs. Alright. New non-conquest balance. What? We are super excited to share a big new feature coming to SMITE starting in 9.7. We have the capability to apply non-conquest balance. These balance changes will be a bit different to our typical balance changes. They will not be changes to specific damage numbers or abilities. They will be blanket, percentage-based changes applied to the god. Only conquest and ranked conquest, as well as any custom matches, will not have this balance applied. Weird. Okay, that's going to be interesting. But I can understand why they would do this. Okay. All modes except conquest. Okay. The changes that this affects will be damage to minions, gods, damage received, healing given, non-ultimate ability cooldowns, and ultimate ability cooldowns. You know, I can understand this. I think this is great. Yeah, no, I can totally see this. I'm not going to cover these because mostly I've been focusing on Conquest, which I'll stick to for now, but that's a conversation we're going to have to eventually have. that's about all I wanted to cover here in terms of the items and the changes. This was a fairly significant update, and I think we're going to see a lot of changes to how some classes play. I'm very excited for this, and again, just to reiterate one final time, if you're new, don't be afraid. You are going to surpass me and all the old hands in the future. You will. And I'm just hoping that you can absorb whatever knowledge you can from me, however much I've got, and you can take that and bring that forward to the future. Because that's why I started this series, is to spread knowledge of the game, to help newer players understand the game better. And now that we're starting to see items like the earring here, now that we're starting to see items like this that new players will be able to use in ways that old players will not be able to because we're too used to how things have been, I think we're going to see a new and improved generation of Smite players. And I want them to take the knowledge that I have, the knowledge that the knowledge that pros have, the knowledge that other knowledgeable Smite players have had, other old hands, take that knowledge and run with it to the future. This is going to be definitely the hands down weirdest episode I've ever busted out for Smite, but this is why I started this series, and this is my hope and expectation for you. You will surpass me and all the other old players of Smite. I want you to be better than us, both in terms of gameplay and knowledge, as well as in attitude. Thank you all very much for joining me. If you liked this, please like and subscribe. If you didn't, please ignore me. And have a great 24 hours.